Hey guys, welcome back to L&D Home. Today we're going to be doing a trash to treasure and we're going to be focusing again on that faux textured concrete look. But we're going to be using something pretty interesting. Everybody at some point has had one of these lamps, right? Well, we still had one and dorm room isn't really our style. So we are going to be taking the lampshade from this lamp and creating a faux concrete decorative bowl. Let's go ahead and jump right in. I am so excited about this one. Here's what you're going to need for this project. You're going to need, well, your lampshade, or really any dome-shaped container or object will do just fine, but we're using a lampshade in this one. Since there is a hole in the bottom, I am going to be making a base with this wood piece from Dollar Tree. You are also going to need the paint of your choice. I am using Waverly chalk paint and plaster. Any paint will work. It does not have to be chalk paint. You're also going to need baking soda or baking powder. Baking soda will give you more texture, baking powder will give you a little bit less, but you can build up baking powder. So if that's all you have on hand, we can make that work. You're also going to need a paintbrush or a sponge to apply. A sponge will give you more texture as well, something to stir with, and a bowl or container to stir your mixture in, as well as a little bit of water to thin out that mixture. Mine's just in a Dollar Tree spray bottle. The first thing we need to do is make our mixture. So I'm just going to dump a bunch of this paint into this bowl. If you don't make enough, that's okay. Don't stress about getting the perfect amount because you can always add more to this mixture as you paint if you run out. We are then going to dump some of our baking powder in. Be careful. Sometimes it has a tendency to go everywhere. And the more you dump in, the thicker your mixture is going to be. So just consider that before you start mixing. And then here we go. Now, you're going to need this water. It's going to come in handy because if you can see, it is clumpy and it is thick. So I'm going to add some water to mine, and I usually only add about 1 or 2 sprays at a time because you can't take water away. If you put too much water in, you're going to have to add more paint and more baking soda or baking powder, and that can get expensive. Adding water and really taking your time with the mixture is the easiest way to go. You just want to stir and add water until it's about the consistency of cake batter. Now it's time to start painting. I'm just gonna slap this on really messy, and you're gonna see that I'm gonna leave a little bit of a ring around that hole. That way when I go to glue my bottom, I get a good adhesion there and I don't have to glue it on top of a bunch of paint. But this first coat is just gonna be our base coat, and it's really easy peasy. You are literally just slapping the paint on there and covering up the inside and the outside of your bowl. We want to make sure that we have a good base coat going before we actually start doing our texture, but you will see a little bit of texture show up because of the powder mixture that's in our paint. While our first base coat is drying, I'm going to take our wood piece and I'm going to start creating our base. I don't have anything to fill that hole with, so I'm going to be working on that later. But for now, I'm just going to paint it with some, I think this is Burnt Umber by FAUX Art. I could be wrong, but it's a really deep brown paint. And I'm just going to smear that on with a paper towel. You could use a brush or a sponge, but all I had was a paper towel. I didn't have any sponges or any brushes clean. So here we go. I'm just going to paint this bad boy up and get it looking good. Our bowl now has 2 base coats, and I did have to mix up some more paint. So like I said, don't worry if you run out, it's easy to mix. I did the second base coat off camera because I didn't want to bore you guys. I did the same thing as I did the first time, but this third coat is where we're going to start really creating our texture. I'm not using a brush, I'm using a crumpled up paper towel because, well, no fancy tools here. It's what I had, and I am just stippling it all over. I'm going to do this on the outside and on the inside of the bowl. waiting on that third coat to dry, I decided that I was going to wrap some twine around mine because I had that hole there. So I just put some hot glue inside the hole, and I put my twine a little bit inside so I had a nice clean start. And I am just going to make a border on my base. Now I will say getting this first circle was probably the hardest part, but after that it was easy peasy. I just added glue and kept turning it around until I had a border around my wooden base. I decided to burn off some of those edges and darken that twine a little bit, but be careful in this step. If you burn yourself, don't come for me. Just make sure you're extra careful because you're using a lighter here. I wanted to show you how our texture was looking. I love this, but if you want even more texture, just do more coats with that stippling technique. To attach my two parts together, I just found my center. I put my lampshade on that center mark and I just drew that circle so I can put hot glue all around that circle. That way I can connect those two pieces together. I did just set something really heavy on top so it would set up nicely and I didn't have to sit there and hold it, because who has time for that? And this is our finished product. I love the way this turned out. The texture is absolutely beautiful. And like I said, you can add more texture if you like with more coats. I hope you guys love this as much as I do. Make sure you check out the video and the playlist up above, and make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss any of our future videos. And remember, as always, you guys are awesome sauce.